How could we save the crew of the Destiny? Well, apparently Mark Fergus already has a plan. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So I've done a couple of videos, go back and check them out, about how we could save the crew of the Destiny. I've tried to think of realistic ways, based in canon, stuff we actually know about how we could have gone and saved them. But then I got a message from one of my brilliant sources that works in and around MGM. And they basically said, why didn't you mention what Mark Fergus said about that? And I went, because I don't know what Mark Fergus said about that. And they came back to me, yes, you do. I told you. And I went back, no, you didn't. Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. Yeah. This went on for a little while. And I had to assure them that if they'd have remembered to tell me this, I'd have remembered to tell you guys. So I got to go back about 9 months now. And I actually did talk about this at the time. The source told me that they sat in on a meeting, and it was when MGM were first approaching Mark Fergus about potentially bringing back the Stargate franchise. It was before they started negotiating, and it was then before negotiations ended at Christmas. Apparently, they were just having some preliminary chats about what Mark Fergus felt about Stargate, what he knows about Stargate. And at one point, actually, somebody did mention to him Stargate Universe, and he apparently went on a 45-minute rant about what he would have done in Series 3 of Stargate Universe if he'd been allowed to have a go. I was really impressed, actually. This guy is a gator, and that just really filled me with confidence that if he does get the opportunity to bring the Stargate franchise back, then actually the franchise is in the best hands possible. But what about this, that he had already got a plan about how to bring the Destiny crew home? Well, however much my source says they told me this at the time, they didn't. But apparently he did discuss that if he does the franchise, he wants to bring the crew home. He says that storyline 100% needs to be tied off. Now, anybody that wants to see a third, fourth, fifth season of Stargate Universe is going to be disappointed. It's not going to happen. Mark Fergus said, though, that he would love it to be part of maybe the overarching story in one of the seasons, that we would actually get to see quite a lot of what happens on the Destiny 10 or 15 years after the events of the series, that he would keep it within a time frame that made sense, that much of the crew initially would probably still be in stasis. It would explain why David Blue looks completely different, because he's been surviving on the Destiny for over a decade. And if it was up to Mark Fergus, he wouldn't send us out to go and save the crew. They'd save themselves with the help of the planet builders. Now, the planet builders were a species that we either did or didn't see in Stargate Universe. It's a little bit confusing. They sort of hint that it was a dream, and then they hint that it wasn't. And then they sort of say that the whole thing was in Tamara Johansson's brain, that actually it was the AI for the Destiny that sort of generated the storyline, and actually maybe the planet builders didn't exist at all. But actually then Joseph Malozzi, who's one of the co-creators of the series, did talk about how if they'd have got a third season of Stargate Universe, we would have seen the planet builders again, which does suggest, at least in Malozzi's mind, that they were real somehow. Mark Fergus was apparently intrigued by the possibility of this race, that he wanted to understand a race that was potentially even more powerful than the ancients, and that he felt that if the Destiny was going to come home, not just the crew, the Destiny herself, that the planet builders were the one race that was potentially able to do that. Now, apparently, Mark Fergus would have loved to have tied this all into the storyline about why the Destiny was out so far in the first place, searching for this hidden message in the background radiation of the universe. Now, he said his first thought was to make the planet builders the race that actually sent that signal. So they would have been a godlike race that were older, maybe, than time. But apparently in this meeting, he did talk about how that was maybe too big, and that he needed to rein it in a little bit. But actually, that the planet builders were a race of people that had detected the background radiation signal themselves and had gone out looking for that signal. That maybe they had touched the face of God, but they weren't actually gods themselves. But whatever they had learned had then changed them forever. He said he wanted to see this race of people to be beyond anything the ancients were capable of, but also beyond the ascended beings. So they really would have been, in lots of ways, the most powerful race of beings we've ever seen. More than capable of returning the Destiny home. Now, Mark Fergus didn't go into why they would send them home, why would they choose to help these people, or anything like that. But he did offer up one other interesting possibility. He basically said that we'd seen Rush's development and evolution through the first 2 seasons of Stargate Universe, and he wanted to test that evolution. He says, what if Rush was given a choice? And that choice was that you can either touch the face of God yourself, that you can learn more about the message, or you, the Destiny, and your crew could be saved. But you can't have both. Now, this would be a moral dilemma for Rush, but also a test by the planet builders, testing humanity in a way through Rush. What Rush then decided, Mark Fergus didn't go into any more details. But the fact that he was considering that much detail does suggest he's really considered the possibilities for a Stargate franchise. Now, I have to admit, I'm really excited by the possibilities that Mark Fergus has allegedly suggested in this meeting. I'm irritated that my source didn't tell me 9 months ago. You didn't tell me. You didn't. But I really think that it's a fascinating insight into the mind of the person that's potentially going to be bringing the Stargate franchise back. A person that does love Stargate, a person that has genuinely considered many of the possibilities about bringing the franchise back and doing more than just creating a new show, but creating a new show that harks back to the original. Creating a new show that gators and new viewers can both love equally. And I really, really enjoy the fact that Mark Fergus has had these ideas playing around in his head for quite some time. He went into this meeting pretty much blind. He didn't know he was going to be asked about Stargate Universe, but he ended up pulling this idea from somewhere. That suggests to me this is a singular mind, a person that is quite actually obsessive about what he does. And that is the sort of person that I desperately want in charge of the new Stargate franchise. This guy could be our Kevin Feige. He could be the guy that leads Stargate back to where it belongs, not just to rival Star Trek as one of the most popular sci-fi franchises on television, but to overtake it. Let's just hope Amazon get off their backsides and give him the opportunity. But guys, I'd love to know exactly what you think about some of these ideas. Obviously, we need to put a little bit more meat on the bones. We've only got a few quick thoughts out of Mark Fergus's head, but they're fascinating thoughts that I'd love to see if you guys could make some sense of and maybe add a bit of detail to. Let your imaginations run riot. Get into the comments. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/SciTrek, where most of our new videos air first. And for a small contribution each month, you also get a free gift after 3 months. You get to see those videos first and without the adverts. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.